Hello and welcome. Today, my guest is Manoj Anchan, who is popularly called Manny, who is a motivational speaker. He calls himself a purpose researcher and a happiness maverick. Welcome, Manny.
Delightful to be here, and I always have admired your work. So, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. And when I relocated back from Paris, we connected. That time, your first book had just come, and fast forward, I spoke to you just the other day, and I realized that by the time so many more books have come, but the Happiness Samurai had just come. Then I realized you had the Happiness Memoirs and the Happiness Conversations, and now a few more coming in. So congratulations for that, and you have been a very
Thank you.
yeah. Before we go forward, I'm going to just read a little bit of your introduction so that the members know who you are. Manny brings 25 years of global management and business leadership experience, and he has had various stints in countries like Asia, Africa, Europe, and North America. It's truly a global citizen, as I can see, and he's worked in a lot of transnational corporations. He is an alumnus from Harvard and Columbia Business School, and he seems to be helping a lot of global CEOs and global clients, also helping across industries from education and startups on various levels. I love the fact, and he's two times TEDx talks, and he's inspiring people through his work. I love the fact that he is very, very passionate about bringing out the positive change and personal transformation in people and in the society at large. So very brief because the number of things he has done. I will put a link to it when I put his introduction on the WiP platform. So, Manny, to begin with, please tell me from all the corporate experience that you were doing as a great global citizen, what specific point did you decide to move into this path?
Oh, I mean, it's a question I'm often asked in all my talks. So, they'll say, you're a successful banker. Why did you come back, and why are you doing what you're doing? I think it's important to have fortitude and chase what you truly want. So, 2013 to 2017, I went through a series of low points. I mean, then low points, today they're my high points. So I went through a divorce. I lost my dad, he was a bit unwell. I lost my first dog who lived with me in 4 countries, so she was like my first baby. Elsa, if you see, it's a tattoo, if you see. I don't know.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then after the divorce, my son, he was 6, he moved back to India. So those 4 years were very cathartic. I was coming home very hollow. I mean, I was the executive director reporting to the MD of the bank. I had a sports car. I lived on the marina. So, I mean, materialistically and, the salary and everything was brilliant, but it wasn't a life that I wanted. So I just, started winding down, and end of 2018, I said, I'm going to take a year off. I went to Bhutan to study the gross national happiness concept. I went to some monasteries in Sri Lanka, Nepal, Goa. I went to the Golden Temple, and that's where I had my moment of epiphany. So that entire year, Mandeep, I lived off one single suitcase. That's it. So a couple of shirts, trousers, that's it. Because I really wanted to, experience a spiritual year.
Mm,
And I spent a lot of time with my mom. She lives in Bombay.
mm,
So I was living on her sofa for a year. I'll put it that way, just giving away all the comforts of life and saying, everything counts for nothing. And then through that year, I also discovered that, which something you would relate to, that there are a lot of people you helped in their careers, and they're probably SVPs today or whatever. I think they lack gratitude, because every time I would call and say, what, hi, I'm back in India, let's have a coffee. Oh, you know what, I don't have the time. I have so many meetings, I have board meetings, I have quarterly this. And I said, okay. So, I do remember maybe I made 100 calls. I'm just like over a period of
yes,
time.
yes, yes.
And only 3 people met for coffee, right? And these are all the people who are part of your team you gave breaks to, but they didn't have time for a coffee. I said, like, that's a really sad life they're leading today, right? And then the pandemic happened, and then the world realized the need for mental health, etc. Anyway, I set up my company end of 2019, in the space of mental health and happiness, because I didn't want to be 60 and say, what have I done in my life, right? I said I must do something that creates a positive effect, right? And what my son and my mother would be proud of, right? Saying, okay, my dad is doing something good in society. It's been a few years now. I've written 5 books. I've done 3 TEDx talks. I do motivational talks all over India and multiple countries. I work with billionaire clients. I work with sports people. I work with NGOs. So I mean, there's a lot of diverse. I've done 21 industry verticals. I think every day is a new learning, and I think when you go for your alum meetings or people write to you on LinkedIn saying, we really love the work you do, or you're a superstar, and you know how they talk, right? So it's nice. I guess we're doing the right thing. I have a lot of gratitude. God is kind. Every day is an opportunity for you to shine. I think that's really what I feel. Give it your best.
I think your books say it all, and I would like to tell the members that they're all available in Amazon. Please go and buy some of them. The first book itself, I've just read, The Happiness Summarize, is very moving as well. So, for those who have not read that, please share a personal story which came as a challenge to you. And I know you've said it in brief already, but it changed your perspective. What point was the turning point for you, which you felt, yeah?
Okay, so I mean, it is a bit personal, but I'm happy to share it. Feb 14th, 2014. Yeah, I had summited Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa. So the summit is the Kilimanjaro is the world's tallest single standing mountain. It's not a Himalayas are different peaks together. So I was standing on top of the summit. It was like freezing cold and etc. And I said, there should be much more in life, right? Like, what are we chasing, right? What are we chasing every day, non-stop numbers, quarters, this, that, etc. And I really felt something's got to change in my life. You come down from the summit. When I called my son, he was very young and he had made a nice card for me, all the best, to climb the mountain. So I got a picture of it and I said, I think I must do something different. Yeah, successful banker and all that is okay. But is that how I'll measure my life? you know that okay, achievements, numbers, bonus, stocks, etc. And I said, no, I don't think so. That's really where it started. And coincidentally, I also figured out that my ex-wife had fallen out of love with me, and she had started an affair with a friend. So the night I was summiting, there was a group of friends back home, whichever country I was in. That guy was also in that dinner, on the dinner table, along with his wife. So it was a very poetic moment, saying, okay, here I'm questioning my purpose and someone else is deciding to do what they're doing. That was very tough. And I came back, and the journey started on top of Kilimanjaro, and it ended in the foothills of Bhutan, which was 7 years later. And that was my Eat, Pray, Love year. It was a very challenging time, Mandeep. 4 years were very, very challenging. I mean, it's not something that I would advise or I would wish for anyone to have. It was like dying by 1,000 cuts every day. Not easy. It's not easy.
I know. In fact, I don't know whether this has been my experience. I've just got last 4 months part of a kind of a think tank which was working on a certain coaching thing. We're talking about transitions, and the largest group was 95% were from the
Wow.
US, and there everything was about divorces and relationships. And we being Asians and the way we look at it, we're talking about CEOs losing jobs or
Yeah, yeah.
people being laid off. And I was like, the person who was facilitating the whole session, she would keep bringing her personal divorce as a big learning point. And I was just thinking, because whenever I was talking, people were saying, you're very focused and very this thing. But I was thinking, are we discussing only personal issues or that? But it was a biggest personal transition that people brought in. And I think, that all the few friends that I have known who have had a very personal transformation in their lives, uh, one of the biggest things for them. I'm sorry, I'm really, really sorry that you've had to go through this, but I'm glad that you're on the other side and you're stronger.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you are, your son and everything else is with you, and you're doing good. I love the transformation journey that you're talking about. LinkedIn and blogs are, I don't read them regularly, but whenever I read them, they're very nice. So I wanted to ask you, where do you get your motivation for on tougher days and on more
Oh,
days? Because I know people who work on their own not always find people who are on the same wavelength. I really find that. So Okay, you find like-minded people, but not so very often. So,
It's a very eudaimonic process, right? It's a long-standing process. So you learn to be comfortable with yourself. That's the biggest thing. I wake up in the morning, I do a little bit of visualization, I do gardening, play with. So I make breakfast for my son, and that really is breakfast and lunch, right? Before he goes to school, I pack his bag, and I think that's a very joyful moment for me. I go to the gym, start my day, taking the physical quotient, right? Physical well being quotient. So I just put my day in different parts. So let's say 6 to 12, 12 to 6, and then back to 6 to 12. So there are three different parts of my day dedicated to financial well-being, intellectual well-being, emotional well-being, spiritual well-being. So all of that, and connecting with my mom, sending a text to someone in the morning saying, hi, good morning, thinking about you, have a great day. Just a simple thing. So those things help me. The structure helps me. The whole goal is to become a better person than what you were yesterday. So small steps lead to transformational journeys, right? It's when you sweat the small stuff, the big stuff will take care of itself.
absolutely.
So,
Yes.
bus, that's simple, yeah. Just less is more philosophy is good for me.
Tell me something, Manoj, that when corporates call you to give your motivational speaking,
Yeah,
what is your
right.
own philosophy behind what do you talk about, or what did you speak about in all the TEDx that you went to?
Oh, so the first TEDx was about the Ikigai way of life. How do you build a intrinsic path and not be worried about what that person will think or
Yeah.
what that person will do. Second one was about happy parenting as a single dad. And the third one was how do you build your own happiness dashboard on a daily basis? We all do professional appraisals, but how many of us are doing a personal dashboard? Saying, okay, this year I want to achieve this financially, intellectually, physically, etc. And how many of us are measuring ourselves?
Mm, mm,
Is my bank balance good? Stocks good? Insurance good? Am I saving? Am I spending right? Am I exercising? Am I reading on a daily basis? Am I journaling on a daily basis? Right? Am I creating a better version of myself? Am I meditating? So the good habits, are we measuring? And if you don't measure, December 31st would be the same, right? If you don't measure. I always say, when you look in the mirror, are you happy? Or are you stressed out? Physically, if you look at yourself in the mirror, is it saying, okay, am I sexy? Or, gosh, who is this person in front of the mirror, right?
that's
And when I speak, do I have energy in my voice? When I play a game of badminton or tennis with my friends or with my family, am I enjoying it? Or am I huffing and puffing? Am I going to sleep with zero worries and say, okay, I had a great day, I gave it my best? Or am I really stressed out? Simple markers. That's what I talked to them about. And, I did a workshop in Goa in November with huge founders, like billionaire founders. Okay, I did an entire day program with them. At the end of it, one guy came and said, you know what, all your markers, I'm very low. All the markers that I spoke about, assessments. I said, isn't that a good wake up call for you? You may have 100 crores or 200 crores lying some bank account and a 5 bedroom apartment or whatever. But just measure yourself today. Where are you? So he said, no. Then he called me in December to his office. He runs a big company. And he said, you know what? I want you to do it to 60 of my managers. So in 2 weeks' time, we're going to do a full day program. And yesterday I met another guy. He's very rich family and etc. He runs a VC fund. And he showed me 6 pages of notes from my program that day. I said, "Oh, this is really amazing." He said, "No, I loved it. We had, we had a very tough bunch, but we can tell you that your program was great. And look at the notes I made, and I wanted to have a follow up with you." It's really what it is, and I always say just small things. Yeah,
No, no, I think it's, I always do that for a lot of women as well whenever we have any workshop. And I want that thing to happen. And I tell you, most women, and it was me many years back,
yeah,
at least
yeah,
years back, that when I did the Wheel of Life, we were doing an assessment and everything, relationships, friends, work, success, finances. And I usually have been very cautious about her. And these are things I take pride in that I invest so much in, for family, this,
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Everything was on a high. Guess the lowest point in my whole thing was just, which was,
Okay,
which was health, because everybody's else's need and putting me,
you put.
other people never came easy to me. And it has been, I was mindful of everything else but that. So that year, that very year, and the next year actually, when I got diagnosed with breast cancer, I was just like, why? Why now? And I just said that was the answer. It was there that you would
Yeah.
all those things, but you never put your need.
Took
And I,
care. Yeah.
when I do that now, I still feel, I just feel sometimes guilty because you're used to, being always putting everybody's needs first. And then you haven't drawn those boundaries with your people and saying, listen, I need to do this on my own. And my biggest thing came with a best friend as I was sitting. She says, you know what? Your two people that you need to get them to understand these boundaries are your mom. And then we never think because we're in love with them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
God, how am I going to create a boundary with my mom to say that, listen, I need this? And she would say, really? Now I'm not well and you want to do this? So I would say, oh no, I can't do this to her. So I think that last 10 years have been, putting my health. I had to because I mean, I went through two big knocks and then realized it. But you're
Yeah.
so right that I wish I had that, a reminder earlier on. But when you're younger, you're just kind of into the thing. And I thought I was one of those people who always did all these things. It came not because people didn't know what a ritual was. Many didn't know one or things like that. So I think I was way ahead of that thing, doing all that stuff, but not. And then when you're talking about making son your breakfast, I was going and dropping my daughter and picking her up from school, specifically in her class 12 days, and taking her to a coaching class, this and that. And I was sitting in the car one day and waiting for her to come out. And I was just thinking that, Mandeep, would you have ever imagined having the time to drop your daughter or pick her up? Because when she was in India here, I remember when the drivers and the maids would drop her, my mom would pick her up and everything else. I never had the time. And this was the most pleasurable time. So I think my sickness came at a time which gave me so much time for everything else. And when you look back, you realize that, that knock was for something else. Anyway. So when these big guys come to you, how do you define success to them? Because people like you and I are never talking in terms of materialistic things. We're always talking on purpose and other things. So how do you usually tell people to define their success?
I always tell them, what is it in your life that you want which money cannot buy? If you can't buy it, then you're not successful. If you don't have time for your family, you don't have good health, it doesn't matter whatever you are, 1,000 crores, 5,000 crores, 10,000 crores.
That's true.
And I say, like, you're 55, you're 60, you have everything in your life, but you still don't seem to be happy because you don't have love of your family or you don't have time for your family. How many friends can you hang out and just not do anything on a Sunday, right? Without being worried. Um, can you run 5 kilometers non-stop? I mean, 3 kilometers non-stop. Can you take off a few days and just go to the mountains and sit, not to worry? And I've always say that from 60 to 90, you guys will spend a lot of time alone because your kids will go out of the nest. For the next 30 years of your life, what are you going to do? You don't have hobbies. You don't have passion in your life. You don't have good health. What are you going to go do? So I always say, do something that's going to change you. And you look around in the corporate life, how many people are truly healthy? How many people are truly happy on an innate basis? They have joy, they care about others, they speak well, right? They speak well to their juniors, colleagues, etc., and they're kind. Those virtues, they're very hard to find today. And these are the things I tell them, right? This is what you need, and start changing, put habits. This very super rich guy yesterday I had, he said, and he said, you talked about minimalism. I said, yes. I said, are you a hoarder? He said, I have a huge problem. I'm a hoarder. I said, then start. And he said, my dad, he's a very, patriot, right? So he said, my dad has 5 shirts, very minimal. He loves it. And I said, why aren't you doing the same? I said, start giving it away. You'll declutter your mind. You'll be more productive. So, we have these fun conversations with these guys, and it's strange because they're so successful, right? When you, the lens which people sees them with.
Number of people who are on their way to, as they would define success, on the way up, right? They have mortgages to pay, they have their all aspirational
Yeah.
they would like to do. And they said, listen, I need this job, I need this comfort of working in an organization which takes care of me so well. And midlife is also between 35 and 75, so they are
Yeah, yeah.
there. So I think their question always is that, but I feel stuck. I feel not motivated, but I need this because it pays for a whole lot of things. What practical tips would you give to people who are feeling stuck and not motivated of getting up? I mean, when I say sometimes that, listen, maybe your calling isn't here, you may want to look for another job, they don't even want to just upset the apple cart, they would just say that, let me just continue with this because this is the only thing I know. They're so afraid to take that little risk
Hmm.
as well. So they feel that you and I can say that because we have been there, done that, and have certain reserve before talking about it. What would you tell those people who still feel that they have to make it?
One personal thing that I keep advocating and talking about is that go back to the 9-year-old version of you. The 9-year-old version of you is brave, is kind, inquisitive, curious, etc. So I always tell people when you have a problem, it could be personal, it could be professional, think how would the 9-year-old Mandeep tackle this? And you'd get the best answers. That's what I say. I always say, this is the best version. The 9-year-old version of you was the best version of you. The most purest version, I would say. And how much joy we had as 9-year-old, right? 8-year-old, 9-year-old, and we wanted to change the world. Energy was different, and today where are we at 40, 50, whatever, whichever gap. So I always tell them that, start that. And I say, as a 9-year-old version, you are probably 90 on 100, right? If you assess yourself. And today you're 50 on 100. Now think about the gap and start bridging it. Start small, start reading, start playing a sport a week, start writing a gratitude journal, start reading 10 pages a day. Small things, just small things. Give yourself at least 60 minutes in a day for yourself. Like, you looked after your mom and this and that, and like at the end of the day, you were exhausted, right?
Mm,
And it took a toll, your health took a toll, right? So
correct.
I always say start small, measure yourself,
Mm,
and start defining your needs better. What is it that you truly want, right?
mm,
I mean, why do you want to keep up with the Jonases all the time? Right? I mean, at the end of the day, Mandeep, you need 3 healthy meals, let's say,
absolutely.
6 feet by 3 feet bed, and a roof, and a loving family. At the end of the day, that's all you need. And maybe a few friends, Mandeep. In your life, you may have a couple of close friends. Couple of.
Yes.
You don't have 100 friends, right? And the other day, my son was talking about how does he discover a larger purpose in his life? What should he do? Um, should he study and invest in various things, or just focus on one thing? I said, you know what? You can do various things, but they must add up to that one thing. And that's how you'll come closer to what you love doing. This is really what I say, is just start small, define your needs better, and chase something larger than yourself. And health is paramount. I always say, if you don't look after your health, you
Yeah.
can't be a successful CEO, you can't be a successful mother, whatever it is, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can't motivate your community around you if you're not healthy.
Sure.
So you lose everything that you worked 30, 40 years of your life for. And
Sure.
as you know, men globally commit suicide 3 times more than women.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's a
I didn't know
it is a
that.
statistic that you should know.
Oh,
Men commit suicide 3 times more than women
oh my God.
because they can't emote,
Mm,
right? When men lose their wives, they die much faster than women losing their husbands.
yeah, that study I know.
Right? So think about it. The world's longest standing study on happiness at Harvard by Professor Robert Waldinger for 80 years. The number one finding is the power of relationships. People said, we invested in relationships, we are happy. People who invested in money and titles, they're not happy. You know it. You know it. So
I that's me. I always have invested in relationships and I keep happy that way. Yes. Manny, tell me before you go, we always ask people to tell their success mantra, and I know I've read it in your books and everything else. But what is one powerful mantra, your living motto or your success mantra that you would like to leave behind for all our members?
the few points that I like to read every night before I sleep: I'm enough. Number one, I'm enough. Number two, nothing changes if nothing changes. Number three, this too shall pass. So this is a tattoo in Japanese I have. This too shall pass. 1% better each day.
Mm,
Invest in the power of five. So basically, have five inspiring people in your life that you learn from. Don't save for later. Kal main ye karunga. I'll say I love you tomorrow. Don't save for later. Do everything that you want to do today.
Sure.
Make each moment count and leave it better than where you found it. Right? Um, Start from zero every day. Have a learner's mindset. The past counts for
Clean
nothing.
slate. Yes.
If you can be anything first, be kind. Um, Try one more time. Live each day as if it's your last, like Steve Jobs would say, right? Start being and stop trying. Start being happy. Don't try to be happy or whatever. And finally, focus on you till the focus becomes you. So these are the 13 things that I love. And I would summarize that in the end, when you want to measure your life, make happiness the only number. That's
Lovely.
what I say. So this is my go-to. My
Thank
go-to.
you, Manny. That wonderful, wonderful note. I wish I could keep talking to you for a long time. But thank you so much for making time for us and sharing these things. I'm sure all the members would love what experiences you shared and what you stand for. And I would recommend them to pick up any of your books and actually look inside the mind of Manoj Anchan as to what he is talking about. Um, I wish you all the very best and a fabulous 2025 to you, your son. And I hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much, and see you really soon. Take care of your health. Have a wonderful
You
weekend.
will. I'm
Look
going
after your
to.
health.
Thank you so much.